Good morning to all those who make this broadcast possible, to Abdiel, to our sign language interpreter, and good morning to everyone tuned in to this briefing. Today, 4,942 people are hospitalized in Cuba. 3,609 are under observation. There are 793 suspected cases and 540 confirmed active cases. Yesterday, we processed 7,538 samples in our various molecular biology laboratories. 2,239 of the samples were processed at the Pedro Curi Tropical Medicine Institute, 990 in Havana's Hygiene, Epidemiology and Microbiology Center, 765 in Villa Claras, 288 in Santiago de Cubas, 564 in the Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology Center Lab, 462 in the Naval Hospital, 416 in the Hermanos Almahedas Hospital Laboratory, 411 in the Molecular Immunology Center, 363 in the Manuel Fajardo Hospital, 335 in the ICA laboratories, 332 in the Fructuoso Rodriguez Hospital, 264 in the Civil Defense Laboratories, and 109 in Ciego de Avila's recently opened Molecular Biology Lab. Of the 7,538 samples processed, 29 tested positive for COVID-19. That's 29 people with the virus. This brings the total number of samples processed in the entire country since the pandemic began to 643,701, of which 5,809, or 0.9% of people, have tested positive for the virus. As I always mention, samples from all of the country's territories were tested. From Pinar del Rio, 111, Artemisa, 169, the most from Havana with 4,796, Mayabeque, 248, Matanzas, 296, Cienfuegos, 112, Villa Clara, 118, Sancti Spiritus, 168, Ciego de Avila, 951, Camagüey, 237, Holguín, 169, the Isle of Youth Special Municipality, 54, and so on and so forth from all of the country's territories. Of the 29 positive cases diagnosed yesterday, 28 are Cubans and 1 is a foreigner who recently arrived in the country. This means that yesterday, 28 autochthonous cases and 1 imported case were diagnosed. 26 or 89.6% of the 29 positive cases yesterday are confirmed case contacts. This means that 91.5% of all cases on the island since the pandemic began have had contact with someone who previously tested positive for the virus. It was not possible to determine the source of infection in 2 cases diagnosed yesterday. This means that the source of infection in 49 cases reported over the last 15 days is still being investigated. Yesterday, as I mentioned, 1 person to have tested positive for COVID-19 contracted it abroad, meaning that imported cases rise to 446. Of the 29 diagnosed cases yesterday, 17 are male, for 51.1% of all cases, and 12 are female, representing 48.9% of all diagnosed cases on the island. 16 or 55.1% of the 29 cases diagnosed yesterday were asymptomatic at the time of testing. Overall, 61.9% of all positive cases in Cuba since the pandemic began have shown no symptoms at the time of testing, and this figure rises to 70.6% of cases diagnosed over the last 15 days. By age group, 7 positive cases diagnosed yesterday are under the age of 20. All of these are in fact under 18 years of age, for a total of 642 children or pediatric cases to have tested positive for the virus in Cuba. Of these, 548 or 85.4% have recovered from the virus and been discharged from hospital. Meanwhile, 9 people to have tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday are between 20 and 39 years of age. 10 cases are between 40 and 59, and 3 are over the age of 60. Of the 29 cases diagnosed yesterday, 13 belong to Havana, including 1 imported case, 11 to Sancti Spiritus, 4 to Ciego de Ávila, and 1 case to Matanzas. The 13 cases diagnosed in Havana belong to the municipalities of Centro Habana, with 3, 10 de Octubre, 3, Habana Vieja, 2, Habana del Este, 1, Arroyo Naranjo, 1, Regla, 1, Cotorro, 1, and 1 imported case belonging to Playa. The case from Matanzas belongs to the municipality of Cárdenas. The 11 cases from Sancti Spiritus belong to the municipalities of Sancti Spiritus with 8 and Taguasco with 3. Finally, the 4 cases from Ciego de Ávila all belong to the municipality of the same name. To summarize, of the 5,809 people who have been diagnosed with the virus thus far in Cuba, 540, or 9.3%, are active hospitalized cases. Of these, 534, or 98.9%, are clinically stable. Yesterday, no one died as a result of the virus, meaning that the COVID-19 death toll on the island remains at 122, with a mortality rate of 2.1%, lower than the global rate of 2.96% and the regional rate of 3.34%. As I always mention, 2 people were evacuated at the start of the pandemic. Yesterday, 27 people were discharged from hospital, a negative result when compared with the number of confirmed cases yesterday. 7 people were discharged from hospital in Havana, 16 in Ciego de Ávila, 1 in Camagüey, and 3 in Matanzas. This means that, to date, 5,145 people, or 88.6% of all confirmed cases in Cuba, have recovered from the virus. Today, 1 patient continues to be in a critical state in hospital in Matanzas, while 5 are reported as serious and being treated in hospitals in Havana, Camagüey, and Villa Clara. Given yesterday's results by province, Ciego de Ávila continues to have the highest confirmed case rate per 100,000 inhabitants over the last 15 days, with 59.26. Sancti Spiritus displaces Havana with a rate of 22.11. Next comes the Cuban capital with 14.43. Then Matanzas with a rate of 7.50. Mayabeque with 2.34. Altamisa 1.34. Camagüey 0.39. And Holguín with a rate of 0.10. Cuba's rate therefore stands at 6.57 per 100,000 inhabitants over the last 15 days. Meanwhile, Cienfuegos, Pinar del Río, Las Tunas, Villa Clara, Granma, Santiago de Cuba, Guantánamo, and the Isle of Youth Special Municipality have reported no new cases over the last 15 days. Some of these provinces have reported no new cases for several weeks, and others none over recent months. This is the situation in Cuba. Now we're going to turn our attention to the world. As of yesterday, COVID-19 continues to be present in the same 185 countries. Yesterday, 329,496 people were diagnosed with the virus, for a total of 34,680,261 confirmed cases since the start of the pandemic. Yesterday, 5,649 people died of the virus worldwide, for a total of 1,029,525 COVID-19 fatalities and a global mortality rate of 2.96%. The region of the Americas, which accounts for 49.14% of all cases worldwide, reported 128,014 new cases yesterday, for a total of 17,043,399 people to have been diagnosed with the virus. Meanwhile, 2,956 people died of COVID-19 in the region yesterday, for a death toll in the Americas of 569,330 and a mortality rate of 3.34%. The United States continues to top the list of countries worst affected by the pandemic. Then, from the Americas, comes Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Argentina, Mexico, Chile, Canada, Ecuador, Bolivia, Panama, the Dominican Republic, Guatemala, and Honduras. These are the countries with the highest number of cases in the region. Meanwhile, Cuba occupies 21st place on this list. Worldwide, after the United States, comes India, then Brazil, and Russia. Spain, as you can see, has seen a spike in cases with an increase in COVID-19 related deaths, meaning that the country's mortality rate currently stands at 4.06%. Meanwhile, France has a rate of 5.46%, and from the region of the Americas, Mexico has a rate of 10.42%. This is the information we have on the behavior of the pandemic in Cuba and the world.